Welcome, 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 beautiful souls. I am the Soldier of Light, and I'm reporting for duty. Welcome to our channel and our community, where we will be discussing a number of interesting topics. Topics that include non-traditional means of communication, non-traditional means of healing, psychic abilities, intuitives, empaths, tarot card readers, pendulum users, and anything that is deemed not of the norm. Paranormal experiences, off-world sightings, off-world experience, astral projection, non-traditional means of healing through the use of frequency and vibration, tuning forks, chakra clearing, energy healing, near-death experiences, and anything that makes you go, did that just happen? Or did I just see that? Come along on this journey so we can hopefully have some of our questions answered as we increase not only our own knowledge and consciousness, but the knowledge and consciousness of the world around us. Light and love. To you, Mr. Joe, introduce yourself if you could. Tell us a little bit about yourself. And
how you doing, Jason?
I'm doing great. Thank you, sir. How are you doing?
Good. Pleasure to be with you. As you mentioned, we've met just a few months ago, but definitely have a connection that we both can't explain, a knowing, and it's been an honor. Where would you like to start?
Actually, what I'd like to do, besides thank you for introducing yourself, and I appreciate that. I mean, it's been amazing getting to know you as well. Considering I'm usually a type of personality, I don't know about yourself, that it takes a little bit of time for me to kind of open up to get to know somebody. But I feel with you, that was almost an instantaneous type of connection somewhere. I've opened up to some things that I've never told random people, and I've told you. So I feel like we have some type of connection that I can't explain. I don't know if you can explain that, but it's unique. So, but
no, you definitely had a wall up on you, and who can blame you? I've been to the point, I guess, the last 3 years that I say my heart, I speak my heart, and a lot of people don't do that, and you can't blame them.
Sure. Very good. So is there any current projects you're involved in, or any channels or anything that you're currently working with, any projects that you're working with other people with that you might want to just tell the viewers about?
Sure. The most recent one coming up is I'm going to be on Janine's channel. Turn the page with Janine. It's our new metaphysical channel, if you will. And I'm most likely with the Wonder Chins, Tristan and Jason. I'm sure we're going to be doing a roundtable later down the road. I myself, it's not. I can't do what you guys do. I mean, as far as talking with people, interviewing people, I don't necessarily like the limelight. However, I know that I'm supposed to share what I have, share what I know, and we're all being called to do it, I think.
Absolutely. I that resonates with me as well. I'm usually not the type, this is a step out of the box for myself as well. I'm not usually the type, I don't even like to have my picture taken, usually, or I
Same
feel,
here, yeah.
And I think that's probably my own insecurity from, just my experiences in my life. But I finally put those behind me. And I had a calling, something came to me that says, you need to help get some of this information out to people, because I know there's a lot of questions I have, and there's a lot of questions I know others have. And I'm hoping that maybe we can bring some of these questions up and hopefully get a few answers, and maybe ease somebody's anxieties or concerns about some of these strange things that may be going on.
Completely agree.
It's bigger than myself, so I can put my fears behind me in order to help the collective. And that's always how I've always been. And I just wanted this channel to come from a place of integrity and a place of light, and each person's experiences are unique, and I want to hear those things. So that's kind of why I jumped out of my comfort zone as well. because I feel like I'm being called to do that. And that's just how I feel. And that's awesome that you kind of feel like you're being pulled to do something similar as well. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Great. So I actually, an interesting thing when I started meeting or I talked with Joe for the first time, um, I learned of a special gift. I hear you have a special gift when it comes to silver. Can you explain a little bit of that for the audience who may say, what special gift is silver? If you could,
Sure.
and speaking of silver, I have my silver bar right here for good
Awesome,
energy.
awesome. It's always something I've had since a child. We've talked, but I'm gonna act like we haven't because we've slowly become friends.
Absolutely.
Excuse me. But what I'm getting at is I think a lot of us uh, have had some form of gift starting off with, and as kids and society, it kind of gets pushed down, gets repressed a little bit. Don't do that. Oh, don't bring that up. That type of thing. But my connection with silver is always strong, and it's actually my nose. It's the sense of smell. Um, when I was a young boy, I was surrounded by it. My godmother worked in a department store for 40 years, 50 years almost, I guess it was, and she worked in a silverware department.
Okay.
And so everything in our home was silver. I mean, the this the my godmother was born in 1886,
Okay.
so she was an old woman. She lived just shy of her 100th birthday, and everything. I mean, the simplest things that we take for granted: dishes, cups, spoons, you name it. It was sterling. That's was her life, and that's what she did. And it was just this sense of smell. It just connected. There's different forms, not just grades, but there's even a Cliff High mention about the two different forms of silver that we're going to discover. Um, I know what those are. There's always been a difference in silver, and it's for me, it's hard to describe. I mean, I say my nose, but it's almost a frequency, if you will. But
Okay.
the gift itself was, I mean, I could walk into your home, give me a little bit, and as long as my body lets me do it, I can pretty much find the silver in your house.
Wow.
As long as it is not a polished or a uh, I don't want to say encapsulated in something or
Right.
something that has an iridium coating on it. It screws it up. It screws it up. But if it's just natural silver or a mixture of sterling or 800, 900, etc., I can find it.
So when you say you can smell, is it almost like a smell to a taste, like a different type of bitterness? Or like if you could try to explain, maybe like, does it have like a different aroma that you're smelling that is considered from different silvers? I mean, best way you can maybe explain it, like, is it a
Sure.
taste, like a bitter?
It's
Is it
actually both.
salty?
It's actually both. I'm glad you brought that up. The silver itself, I mean, it's very strong when it's a little bit dirtier. In other words, it's tarnishing. It doesn't have to be, but that smell. I mean, it's an oxidation process. But if you yourself pick up uh, silver, as long as it's not polished, if you bring it up to your nose, you can smell it. There's a pungentness about it. It's not chalky. It's more along the line of very earthy. It
Okay,
has a taste when I smell it. In other words, I don't know if anyone's ever been in the hospital. They give you a particular medication. You taste that. They say, "Oh, you may taste this." It's that same
sure.
experience when I come in contact with it, and it's a resonation that I mean, I guess it's from my childhood. It's a knowing. It's that remembrance, and I'm drawn to it. I
Wow.
hope I explained that well.
No, that's awesome. Like anything that you can elaborate, that's amazing. We're just trying to answer some possible questions, and maybe someone can chime in down the road that says, you know what, I kind of understand what he's talking about. So
Agreed.
nothing here
Agreed.
off the limit. because we're here just trying to increase the knowledge overall for our viewers. Great. When was the first time? So have you always have you always had that? You mentioned you felt like you've always had that gift. So when was the first time you like noticed that for the first time? Do you kind of have an idea, maybe age frame when you may have said
Um,
that's different?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I was a child, obviously, but I could walk into any family member's home or new home or anything, and I would always find you're a little kid, you're playing around, but that that sense of smell, it also would just be like as a kid, I said I find it because I was kind of drawn to it. It's like I know that scent, it was instinctive. It, it's kind of hard to describe when you're a child, but looking back, I've always had it. I mean, later on, I developed a little more different gift, if you will. In other words, a sense of touch. But
Sure.
silver always has a touch. I mean, it can every once in a while I'll get memories that aren't mine. I'll get images in my head. It's for me to understand, but I may get holiday images of a feast or celebration, happy. Generally, there's no negative. At least I haven't come across a negative aspect with silver, if you will.
I don't believe there is either. When I touch it, I can feel the energy of it. It has a different vibration and energy for sure than gold. I mean, though
Hmm.
both of them differently, but there's something to the silver, and I feel that.
Oh, could I add one more thing? I'm sorry.
No,
The
absolutely.
different the difference between the two different types of silver. I've found it in coins. I've found it in flatware. I've found it in trinkets, dress items. It can be anything, but it's a type of silver. In other words, it was mined somewhere. There's something to do with the natural process of where you define these two types of silver.
Mm.
I didn't know this until I kind of got older and I figured it out. And, you know, heard Cliff High mention the two things. I'm like, boy, I know that, you know.
Right.
But when you hold on to it and you resonate with it and you feel it, it is just within the actual natural development of the metal in the ground. That has something intrinsic to do with it. What that is, I don't know. But
Sure.
it's definitely from the ground.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So I also on a like we talked about, we've gotten to getting to know we've been getting to know each other for the last couple months. Like I said, which has been amazing. We've had another recent. I wanted to ask you. I've also you told me that you've had some unique experiences as of recent. Can you explain a little for those, a little bit about those for the audience, about some of these unique experiences that you've recently uh, had, and kind of just explain what you can.
Agreed. When this kind of happened about 8 months ago with a reading from Ashley on John Claude's, I asked about the silver. I opened up, but
Okay.
fast forward a little bit towards, I'd say, I guess it was about 9 weeks ago, somewhere in that neighborhood. And you and I had just been kind of getting to know each other. Um, and these things just kept coming. And before I go any further, what people don't understand is, I mean, I I leaned on you and a few other people that we all have a common bond. We do certain things together. But you're also the kind of people that would understand something like, "Oh my God, you won't believe what just happened to me." And I want to thank you because without you and Lakeside Laura, Kristen, um, I wouldn't understand these gifts. I would have pushed them aside like I am just completely going nuts. So I just want to get that in there that regardless of these gifts that I'm getting, I had help. I had help with them and I had help to understand them. So where I'm going to go with this is it started with just kind of information. It was more than smell. It was more than sense. It just started coming on me as far as knowings. In other words, I'd see someone and I would almost hear in my mind, the worry. I could smell the scent of the worry. It has sense, worry, strength, love, compassion. They all have a smell, a pheromone, and my nose was just on steroids at that point.
Oh,
And it was happening with everything. Um, and then it just got to the point where I was starting to hear and feel things within my head. In other words, walking by is, oh, I got to get him there and pick him up at 7. And, just from people in the store, people I don't know. And the
oh,
the funny thing about this is if I'm close to you, I don't always get that information. And I think it's just because if I'm close to the person, say like my wife or family, I don't pick up on these things because I'm so used to them. So if anyone is experiencing these types of things, they may have a similar experience, maybe not. I'm just
sure.
saying what I have noticed.
So,
But anyway, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, no, I would say what comes to my mind, and while it's a fresh topic, as you mentioned that with your family, you're not able to maybe feel those emotions or read them basically. Um, the reason why I feel this is because your energy is vibrating at their level. So, which means the people who are worrying or those concerns that you're hearing, they're at a lower frequency than you are. So you're able to pick those up because they're not vibrating at the same frequency. That's what I feel. That's why
Great.
with your wife, you guys are simpatico, and people that are close to you, you're going to have that bond and that kind of your vibrations are the same. So you're going to have a little bit of a shield, an egg,
A filter, yeah, or
a
something. A
filter.
shield might
Exactly.
be a good word for it. Yeah.
Exactly. A shield or filter. That's even a better use of a word. So I understand totally what you're saying. And that's just what I feel when it comes to why you hear those things from certain people because they're a different vibration that you're picking up on that's out of your normal. So that's why
Mhm.
it's like a sore thumb, it's like boom, boom, boom. And oh, I just
Exactly.
stepped on a rock, and oh, I hurt my foot. That's kind of
Yeah.
what, that's what it is because it's sudden. You're like, what? Did I just hear that? Did I just feel that? So
Exactly. Exactly.
that's that's
Can I
you
mention the couple of the incidents that happened to me that I relied on you for, if you don't mind, if that's all right?
know, it's
Um,
open forum.
had an incident that you obviously helped me through. I mean, these things were coming at me, these emotions, these feelings, this information. It was just pouring into my head. I called it, the hell weeks. It was 4 rough weeks of nonstop. It wouldn't end. It was continuous. My sleep patterns, like most today, are feeling that they're definitely disrupted. But this was off the charts, and everyone's experiences are going to be different with this. And
Absolutely.
in fact, to get off the subject for a brief moment, I know for a fact that you know exactly what I'm talking about because I've seen you grown also.
Absolutely.
Um, but when these things were just happening and bombarding me, I leaned on you. A lot of my friends that we consider woo, have specific knowledge beyond what I know, and
Sure.
I just couldn't understand why all this was happening to me in a given sense of this was just coming on so strong. Like this can't be happening just to me. And I would call you up and say, "Hey, oh my God, this happened," and we would walk it forward. But one of the things I want to mention in the growth of me is we were talking about something, and you were kind of pulling tarot cards, if I remember right. And I I couldn't fathom what was going on, and I blocked myself, in other words. And you had said via text, you're controlling. And I believe I may have mentioned this in my interview with Kristen. Um, and I called you up and I'm like, Jason, dude, I know we don't know that each other that well, but I am far from that kind of guy, like controlling. I mean, it wasn't that it didn't resonate. It did not at all, And I'm like, oh my God. So anyway,
Right.
after we spoke for a couple minutes, you pointed out that no, 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 this is you. You're controlling you. In other words, I'm controlling what I was letting in. I was the filter. I was in my own way. And,
Absolutely.
you know, without you pointing that out, whether it was intuitively, whether it was you getting that information and this bond that we have, it was enlightening. Things got a little easier after that. And it was, we've all been brought together for a reason. And I wouldn't be experiencing these things or developing what I'm developing without you and a few other key people, period. Lakeside Lore is obviously one of them for me. And Kristen has been a very gracious person helping me with kind of letting me ask some questions and getting the acknowledgement that, you know, what is going on, asking specific questions. And
Sure.
then another person or two, I asked the other questions and the same questions and to get the same answers because I wasn't accepting it. And I literally had to get another little pep talk from you to just let it go, get out of your way. You're getting in your way again. And I think the lesson on that is we really do need to let these things come in. Um, Maybe not try to stop them or try and really overthink them because that's what I was doing. Um, and as you know, when these things were coming, they were, as you mentioned it before, did that really just happen? I mean, you think you're going nuts, and I honestly believe you felt a lot of the things I told you about. I mean, not just
Yeah,
intuitively, but I think it just resonated with you.
absolutely.
You know that you and that's I believe is how we came to kind of such a good bond. You know that we felt it, we experienced it almost simultaneously after I explained it to you, and for a second you were there, you felt it. You know, I believe you have some kind of empathicness also,
Absolutely.
uh, and as long as people let that in, that's where you got to go. And I don't know, there's going to be many things I think that you're going to help people with just with this type of forum. We need to talk about, we need to understand it.
Absolutely. Appreciate that. I mean, I try to help people where I can. I've always been that way. Little story I shared with you that I remember, I've always been a protector of others and I've always tried
Mhm.
to help others. And people have always come to me. Um, and I've always been the person that's attracted crazy people or some random person come up to me and just start sparking up a conversation. Don't know who they are.
Exactly.
My wife is always like, wow, why do you always attract these random people that just want to start opening up to you and tell you things that are just random, but it's like they're opening their hearts and their lives to
Right.
me, to tell me random things. And people always told me you should have been a psychologist, you should have been a teacher. And I'm good
Right.
at teaching, coached, youth sports because even when my kids were big, because I like to help, I like to protect.
Hmm.
I'm very, um, and when it came down to it, I remember even as long as a story I shared with you about my brother and I, and there was a young girl. I was probably 9 years old, 8 years old, around that time, and I didn't remember this till my brother brought this up. That's crazy things we can't remember sometimes.
Hmm.
And my brother was almost a little less than 2 years younger than myself, and we were walking home from school one day in the city outside of Detroit, and we came across the same route we take every day, and we came across this young girl being attacked by a teenage boy, girl our age, young girl. My brother and I, not knowing anything, we knew something was wrong. Instead of running and telling like everyone tells you to go run and tell an adult, my brother and we didn't act that way. We went straight to that person. We started attacking this teenage boy,
Hmm.
and they were able to fight him off between the screaming and the attacking to get him off and save that little girl. I didn't even remember this.
Right.
My brother told me that, and now that there's certain things that I don't remember, but we've always my brother and I have always been that way. Um, we're very protective. Like like it's any, no matter what, even if it's not my child or it's an older person or some random woman, if I see a man roughing him up, I'll step in. I don't even know if I know you. I'm going to step in because
Right.
I have integrity and what's right is right, and I've always
Exactly.
lived life that way. And sometimes that type of having that integrity, either some people like it
Mhm.
or some people don't,
But
because there's more.
I I think that integrity has a lot to do with these gifts that a lot of us are getting. Now they can be small. I mean, never underestimate, excuse me, the power of just mom. Okay, mom and dad. Excuse me. In other words, there's a bond there. It's a very powerful bond. Oh, pardon me. But that bond also, you know, mothers, parents, they kind of instinctively know when their child's in trouble or doing something they shouldn't do. It's documented. Everyone out here listening probably has experienced that if they have a child or even a
Sure.
grandson, grandchild for that matter. There's something that society can't measure, and but that integrity that you speak about, that you lived a certain way, you kind of had this moral code, if you will, that you were brought up with. It was taught to you, and you knew you knew what was right and what was wrong. And a lot of people would not have done what you did. Um,
And
that's what makes the difference in these gifts. How you face and how you react to what has been thrown in front of
absolutely. And the thing is
you. Pardon me.
I relied a lot on my mom. My mom was like our rock, and I just
Hmm.
lost my mom in May of 2020. My I didn't have a dad really because my real dad was a real piece of work. Never met him, never did anything. So I've had two stepdads in my life. The stepdad that raised me, and I have his last name. He, adopted me when I was 9 months old.
Hmm.
Not the nicest guy, very abusive, verbally, physically. I mean, just not a good human
Hmm.
being, personally. He has a lot of the regrets that now of that. I've forgiven him for all those things that he put us through. Um, but I've always had this sense. My mom was always that way about do the right thing, and she's always had an open heart. My mom was she was a tough woman. Don't get me wrong, because she raised three boys, and roughhouse boys, and
Hmm.
but she was also very caring. She'd open her home up to everybody, and like all of my friends, I played a bunch of sports in high school, things like that. And we had always had the basketball team, football team over. I mean, we were constantly people just eating my mom's. They call her mom because they
Call her
just
mom,
felt
exactly.
we were just comfortable with her. So that was the type of energy that she was kind of a mix of the masculine and the feminine. She
Hmm.
sometimes she had to play a little more of that because my stepdad, the one I when I was most teenager, he was a truck driver, long road truck driver. So he was gone all weekend, one day a weekend, and then he was gone again. So my mom was pretty much the one that raised us, and
Sure.
I'm just really thankful for that. And I've always had that sense since I've been little, very little, that things aren't what this doesn't feel right to me. I always knew something wasn't right with the
Right.
world, what it
Right.
was, but I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me why there's poor, hungry people on the street and there's people who have mansions and all this money. I said, when we have all these resources here and all these things, and I was a kid, always like, and I was in trouble on and off in school as well. I always went
Sure.
against the grain. Um, Not saying I was a bad student, but I wasn't one of those bookworm A students. I was an athlete, wanted to go. I went to school honestly for more social hour and sports,
Uh,
but I never resonated with history and all that. I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me. But now I know why, because
exactly.
there's something to that. So that's what I'm saying. That innate ability has always been there, and I feel like we all have that. And
Hmm.
like you've mentioned earlier in the show, that we've been told that's not normal. Put that
Exactly.
away. There's no reason. Don't be talking to imaginary friends. And there may be somebody right next to this kid. This
Mhm.
child. We don't. That's who they're talking to. There probably is somebody there. Things like that. I mean, even my spiritual teacher that healed me and is my Reiki master teacher, little old Asian woman from Vietnam. She's real tiny. She's 70 some years old. She did a tuning on me a few years ago, and I felt like I was riding a roller coaster. Like it was so powerful. I was like almost got woozy, like, whoa, man, I've never felt anything like it. And
Hmm.
she's such a powerful energy. Like she has spirits come to her, and when she was a little girl, and her mom told her in Vietnam, don't put that away because this is not
Exactly.
normal. You'll get in trouble, you'll
Right.
get in trouble, get in trouble. They'll take you from me. So we've even since way back then, even in foreign countries, people have been told no, that's not
Hmm.
normal right away.
Exactly.
And that's why all these abilities we're born with, each one of us has special gifts. And only way we're ever going to develop them is if we continue to develop them. And that's like a muscle, like muscle memory.
Right.
And when you put it away, you deteriorate. You don't work out. Same thing. You lose muscle. So that's kind of what it is. I'm glad
Can I
that
can I jump on one thing that you mentioned?
sure.
You had mentioned about not having an easy childhood and everything like that. And we have actually had this conversation, but I'm going to bring it up. We have kind of come to a conclusion, not just you and I, but others that are having these gifts. We notice that there's some form of trauma involved, almost, whether it's health, psychological, spiritually, emotionally, and it's how we face those that develops these gifts, how we've been shown to how we react. It's part of our development. And right now, with all this extra energy that people are feeling, it's this time. And I mean, there's a reason why these things are developing naturally like they did centuries ago. When indigenous people, they all kind of came to some kind of ruling of a council, an elder, or a witch doctor. They had a hierarchy, and spiritual was a big part of it, and it was a natural development of us humans, and
Sure.
it eventually became, just a way of life. But that doesn't mean it was organic or it wasn't corrupted. um,
Sure.
and I think right now is where we're seeing this rise again, this rise of people that are needed, these gifts that not just me, not just you, but others can't explain, and we need to talk about for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Well, like I said, I know you got to get going and get running. I just want to say thank you once again for joining
Uh,
us.
Let me add
And I
one
hope,
more thing if you don't. Let me add one more thing if you don't mind.
yeah,
There's a few us out there, and we've talked. I mean, it's I had a hard time wrapping my head around that. I've been called a shaman, and a number of tarot readers, pendulum psychics have told me that. And one of the funny things is, that's a hard thing to wrap your head around. Talk about uh, just a total mind, what. And
I know what you're
but
saying.
we accepted it, okay. But one of the things when I was when I confirmed with Chris, and someone who I consider is just gifted beyond belief,
He's amazing.
when she told me I was a shaman, the immediate thing that popped up in my head was the image of you. And I don't know if you are a shaman, but let's face it, that's a generic term. Shaman
Sure.
can be teacher, educator, counselor, witch doctor, healer. It's a generic term, and I do believe you are in that bracket. And I'm not just saying this on the video or to embarrass you or to point you out, but
No,
you've been a gift to me, and I'm glad to seeing you take this step out now and doing what you're doing. I think it's your calling, and you're being called to it. And
appreciate it.
whatever I can do to help you in the future, please don't hesitate to ask.
I appreciate that. Well, like I said, thank you once again, my friend. I appreciate your conversation. It's always good. It's always interesting.
You are the
So,
soldier. You are the soldier, my friend. Thank you.
soldier of light. All right. Take it easy, Joe.
Love and light. Bye bye.
Love and light. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in today, my beautiful souls and soldiers of light. Do you have any experience with any of the topics we've discussed today? Or do you have any of your own unique experiences you'd like to discuss, possibly? Or know someone who might have had unique experiences involving the things that were discussed in the intro video, well, feel free to contact us so we can discuss further with the possibility of you being on a future show. I look forward to this journey with you all of not only increasing our awareness and consciousness, but answering many of the burning questions that I have, and I know that many of you do as well. I look forward to this journey once again with you. Light and love. Soldier of Light out.